In this video, we're going to go big game painting. The world of Horizon Zero Dawn, we're after TallNecks. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video we're going to mix three things that I love: video gaming, painting and technology. And when Horizon Zero Dawn first came out, I was absolutely blown away by how beautiful the game world was. For me, it is the game of the generation. You can argue in the comments below, but for me it's that. And the TallNecks in the game just absolutely blew me away. And so much so that they've been picked up by other games. You know, in Death Stranding, obviously they're sharing the Decima engine between the two studios. People have put it in the game as an Easter egg, and it's just an iconic and beautiful model. And I really wanted to get one, like a real legit model, but I don't think they exist, or at least I can't find one anywhere. And again, if anyone knows, please put a comment below. But Thingiverse and the world of 3D printing is a wonderful thing where people, such as this wonderful person, has made this model available, and I'm not sure where it's come from, whether it's a game rip or he's actually legitimately, or he or she or they, I apologise, have legitimately sculpted it. But you know, you can see here from Thingiverse there's a whole series of files that have different parts that have been sculpted, really focused around the notion of FDM printing. But I'm going to be using a resin printer. I have an Anycubic Photon. And so for those that aren't familiar with the process, you pick the file and you put it into the print process, and you obviously need to print supports because of the way the printer works. And so you can see here I'm taking the file and I'm actually reducing it by about 50% to fit it into the printer. The print bed is only about 10 centimeters by 5 centimeters wide. It's not huge, and so you know these things have to be split down, and you can see the different elements and the supports in this instance. And here's a quick view of the slicing and the different layers that are printed. I'll do a video on 3D printing later. But obviously there are so many parts of this, they had to be printed in different elements. It took me, I know, about a month to print the whole thing up, and actually it was one of the first things I printed when I got the printer, very soon after the game came out. And eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed something sitting on my desk, and it's been sitting there printed for quite a while. And so I had it basically undercoated black metal from Vallejo, but I wanted to start out by painting it up to get to the sort of the thing that you see in the images, and it's going to be like a white cream kind of finish with an orange highlight. And so I started out by saying I'll start dark, I'll get the metals right, and then I'll work up and get the plates to the cream, starting with a wraithbone undercoat and then going to a white. And the reason I did it this way was because I figured if I went the other way it would be painful, and you know, preserving that white with a black, any slight skip of a brush or knock, you're just going to ruin it. And I didn't want to use an airbrush because the masking would be horrific on this model. I didn't have the option of printing a lot of bits separately, like the armor plates and whatnot. So I am sort of limited to the way that it's sculpted. I made a significant error, and I'll talk about that later. You see the size of the model here, but obviously I glued the head on, and yeah, difficult. But going back to the painting, you can see that the wraithbone was streaky even after numerous layers, and so I was sort of forced to go to an airbrush. And so here I'm airbrushing the wraithbone on, but obviously the overspray from the airbrush is going to absolutely decimate the black metal, and I had to kind of scrap the whole metal look that I was going for. The airbrush gives a fantastic result, and on big flat surfaces it kind of is your only option. I sort of wanted to avoid it where possible because, well, I was lazy. I didn't want to mask. I really didn't want to have to mask stuff, but hey. And what you're really seeing here is the evolution of the idea. Now, my white go-to paint is a Schminker titanium white, which Ben Comments recommended on a Patreon video thing years ago that I had with him. And it is my absolute go-to white paint. And for those of you that haven't tried it, please, it will change your world completely. But I'd never used it in an airbrush before. This is literally the first time I'd ever tried it in an airbrush. And apart from a little bit of massaging to get it to the consistency in the cup, it was chef kiss brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic, and I will absolutely be doing this in the future. I'm actually in the process of going to make a premix pot ready to go, so I don't have to worry about it. And And once I've got the white down, I'm going to go back with white to kind of amp it up a bit later, but I knew I had to go back in. I was going to go for a glow effect with some orange, but I wanted to have the black in, or the black metal in place as a base coat. I knew I would have to revisit this, but I wanted to use this as the, a basis to spray over and not have to worry about the overspray, and I was aiming for the creases. You can see here with the orange that I'm laying down. I'm using one of the Scale 75 Fantasy range paints here. Now, this was a real nightmare for me. I mean, you get dry tip problems with an airbrush. I have never experienced, I don't think I've ever tried airbrushing this paint before. I'm pretty sure I haven't airbrushed this paint before. Anyway, you will see me, I am constantly cleaning the airbrush, and you can see I'm trying thinner, I'm trying flow improver, I'm trying mixes of the two, pure water, all different surfactants that I've got, and I'm resorting to actually having to physically hold a paper towel in my hand, and I'm making one pass, and then I'm having to clean the needle. I'm trying it with the crown on, with the crown off. I've got a sponge there because sometimes having a sponge to stab it into will clean. It was nightmarish. It took twice, even 3 times as long as I think it should have taken, and I'm doing 2 passes here, so obviously I'm starting out with this very saturated orange colour because what I wanted was a kind of a glow effect that was an homage to the orange that you see from the machines in the game. They have this orange glow before Aloy takes them over. Now you can see here I'd actually soaked this airbrush in a shot glass full of water, and even then soaked the gunge and the glue and the rubbish that this paint was doing. I have no idea why, but it was. Anyway, so I'm laying all this stuff down, and I'm getting this kind of edge effect, and you can see that in certain areas I'm sort of inverting the glow, so the edges of the panels become orange, and it's because on the main kind of pictures of the TallNecks, those chest panels especially have this kind of orange edge, and I kind of wanted to match that. And I knew that I wanted to dull that down, but I have this in the cup. You can see I've got the next lightest colour, which is actually a slight pink colour. But I think if I'd have just gone with the straight pink, it would have been a bit too not saturated enough. So I thought the pink over the orange, and it kind of gives me this nice glow effect. And especially when I go back later, and you can see here I've applied a bit of white just to kill it back slightly just on the edges, and again fix some of the overspray problems that I'm doing. You see on the head I've kind of gone back and just done that. I think it really helps, and it gives me that sort of glow that I'm looking for, such that it is. I'm not really sure how to explain it. I just wanted that kind of homage to the machines that you see before Aloy takes them over. And then obviously I'm going to be hitting the black pretty hard, and I decided I abandoned all notions of a kind of a air dry brush kind of aluminium look over the metal, and just sticking with the straight black metal as a strict contrast to the white and the orange that I was giving to the rest of the model, because I knew that if I tried to go in and dry brush, I'm gonna knock it. I'm gonna put paint where it shouldn't be. I'm going to ruin the white or the orange effect, and it was painful in the extreme. And I learned an awful lot painting this model. I think again I'm still very new to painting under camera, and the physical size of this thing. I mean, you can see, there's my hand for scale. Obviously the leg is as big as my hand, and just manipulating this model underneath the camera was really difficult. And like I alluded to earlier, I made a massive mistake when I originally printed the thing out by sticking a head on. I shouldn't have stuck the head on, because that would have made it significantly easier to paint it and then deal with it. But obviously I've got the neck, which was in 3 pieces or 2 pieces plus the head. Yeah, it was a learning experience. And then the last thing are these knives, these little blades that stick out the back of the neck, and you can see it on the image from the game. And they're absolutely minuscule. They're millimeters. You can see they're millimeters thin. And I knew that they couldn't be stuck on the model. I would break them. And I paint them, and then I've got to stick them on, and then not touch the model. So I mean, this sculpt is basically going to live now in my display cabinet, because there's absolutely no way that I can move it around and transport it. So, using basic super glue just to glue everything together, to get the right pose that I wanted. I thought about printing a base, but actually it's such a large model that I think it can sort of live without one, and it can be sort of good by itself. So, I might revisit the idea of a base later, but yeah, another video maybe. Anyway, so here are some close-ups, and I think it gives me that homage, that look that the TallNecks has from the game, but my own take. It's not a straight copy. And like I said, it was a brilliant experiment, and it's absolutely rekindled my interest in it. I want to go back and replay it before Horizon Forbidden West comes out on the PS5. I will absolutely be buying a PS5 just to play that game. But yeah, so I have plans for more 3D printing, because I know it's something that's kind of slightly out there, but there are some fantastic creators and sculptors on Patreon or on Cults or on My Mini Factory, or even on Thingiverse, the free stuff on Thingiverse. I mean, there's some brilliant stuff there that's available. And yeah, if you'd like to see something specific, I'd love to hear about it. But that being said, thank you for watching. I know this has been a slightly long video, and please like and share and subscribe, and give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thumbs up if you like the video, thumbs down if you didn't. Again, I'm still needing to know what you like, what you don't like, what can be better, what can't, and I'll see you next time around.